In 2021, rising star Hamza Chimaev shocked the MMA world by pulling out of a highly anticipated bout with Leon Edwards, sidelined by the lingering effects of COVID-19. Chimaev had looked unstoppable, a force to be reckoned with in the cage. But recently, getting him into the octagon had become an uphill battle. Every time he edged closer to a fight, his health took a severe downturn. The MMA community was devastated. One of the most promising prospects in the sport's history might be forced into an untimely retirement. Chimaev's team was overwhelmed as his symptoms worsened. It's heartbreaking. His fever is through the roof. He's in agony with excruciating headaches, muscle pain, everything. It's relentless, one source said. Fans held their breath, wondering if this might end Chimaev's meteoric rise. Then an ambulance rushed in, taking him to the hospital. Even there, in a haze of pain and uncertainty, he called me. His voice trembled as he genuinely believed it was the end. Enter Ramzan Kadyrov, the president of the Chechen Republic. In a stunning announcement, Kadyrov declared that Khamzat would not be retiring from the sport after all. This moment introduced many MMA fans to Kadyrov for the first time, and for most, it was all about their favorite fighter making a comeback. That was the only thing that mattered. But a far darker narrative began to unravel for those who dug beneath the surface. This wasn't just about an MMA star's return to the cage. It was the gateway into the world of Ramzan Kadyrov, a man infamous for his brutal regime. Behind his iron grip on Chechnya lay a legacy of horrifying human rights abuses, violating women, anti-gay purges, kidnappings, assassinations, and the torture of activists, critics, and their families, both within Chechnya and beyond its borders. This is the chilling tale of a warlord and the wolf. To truly grasp the complexities of Ramzan Kadyrov's reign, one must first understand his origins. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Chechnya was thrust into chaos as separatist groups fought fiercely for independence from Russia. At the helm of this resistance was Aslan Maskhadov, who became the region's new president. Aiding him in the fight was the Chechen chief mufti, Akhmad Kadyrov, Ramzan's father. Following brutal and hard-fought battles, the Russians eventually relented, agreeing to a peace treaty and even paying war reparations to the Chechen state. It was a moment of celebration, a hard-won victory for independence. But Chechnya's brief taste of freedom from Russia would soon be overshadowed by darker forces, as autonomy proved to be fleeting. In August 1999, a devastating terrorist attack shook Russia to its core. A group of Islamic militants launched a series of bombings, claiming the lives of over 300 innocent people. Although the terrorists hailed from Xi'an, there was no clear evidence that they acted on behalf of the Xi'an state or in the interests of its people. Despite Xi'an's swift denial of involvement, tensions escalated as Russia remained unconvinced. The fallout was immediate. Moscow, distrustful and enraged, nullified the fragile peace treaty and once again launched an invasion into the breakaway republic. Amid this chaos, Ramzan's father, Ahmed Khad, made a fateful decision. He switched allegiances and threw his support behind the Russian federal forces. This betrayal sent shockwaves through Xi'an. Although President Mask fired Ahmed from his position as chief mufti, the damage was already done. By the following year, Russia had fully occupied Xi'an territory, redrafted its constitution, and in 2005 assassinated Move, who had been negotiating to bring an end to the bloody conflict. It's worth remembering that Khamzat was just 6 years old during this brutal period. As a reward for Ahmed's betrayal and loyalty to Russia, their influence grew stronger in the region. In a dramatic twist of power, Chechen resistance leader Akhmad Kadyrov was appointed the new president of Chechnya, handpicked by none other than Vladimir Putin himself, on the condition he remained loyal to Moscow. However, this decision would prove disastrous, not just for Kadyrov, but for the entire region. Instead of pacifying the separatist movement, it only fanned the flames, turning Chechen resistance into a global militant network. Just a year after assuming power, Kadyrov was assassinated. with Islamist rebel leader Shamil Basayev boasting that he paid $50,000 for the hit. In true dynastic fashion, it was already understood that Ahmad's son, Ramzan Kadyrov, would succeed him. And in 2007, with Putin's blessing, Ramzan took control. Despite Chechnya being in economic turmoil after the Second Chechen War, Kadyrov seemed uninterested in helping his people. Instead, he indulged in extreme extravagance, building a luxurious presidential palace on a sprawling 30-acre estate, complete with a private prison, costing a staggering 1.5 billion rubles. His penchant for lavish spending didn't stop there. An American diplomat recalled Ramzan attending a friend's wedding and gifting the couple a 5-kilogram lump of gold, even as many of his citizens struggled to survive. The stories of children being made to dance for him were even more disturbing, as guests threw money at them. But Kadyrov's rule extended far beyond wealth. He came under fire for backing his police chief, who forced a 17-year-old girl into a marriage as his second wife. Meanwhile, Chechnya received over 464 billion rubles in Russian subsidies, much of which Kadyrov siphoned off for personal gain through his charity, the Kadyrov Foundation. Federal funds meant to rebuild Chechnya were often stolen, as confirmed by Dmitry Medvedev himself. Once at the helm, Kadyrov tightened his grip on power, eliminating political opponents and brutally crushing dissent. Human rights organizations have sounded the alarm on a wide array of abuses, including forced disappearances, torture, and murder. Witnesses even confirmed the existence of a hit list with 300 names, slowly being worked through by Kadyrov's regime. The Society for Threatened Peoples has labeled him a war criminal, accusing his paramilitary forces of committing 75% of recent violent incidents in the region. International outcry has grown, but Kadyrov is defiant. He dismisses these accusations, pointing to atrocities in places like Syria and Iraq, attempting to deflect attention from the horrors occurring under his rule. Those brave enough to investigate these abuses have found themselves in danger, with the last remaining human rights organization in Chechnya being the target of an arson attack. Kadyrov's vision extends beyond eradicating political enemies. He wants to eliminate anyone who remembers his regime's atrocities. Following numerous conflicts, many displaced Chechens sought refuge in camps scattered across the region. Kadyrov has since called for their closure, branding human rights groups as enemies of the people and declaring they have no place in his Chechnya. It's a chilling reign where power, fear, and violence intertwine. And anyone who dares to resist is met with brutal consequences. Once Ramzan Kadyrov secured his power under Putin's watchful eye, he ruthlessly eliminated those he deemed undesirable. In April 2017, 6 months before Z's amateur debut, international media exposed horrifying reports. Gay men in Chechnya were being rounded up, detained, and tortured in a region-wide purge. UK Deputy Foreign Secretary Sir Alan Duncan even told Parliament about plans to eradicate Chechnya's gay community by Ramadan in May. Kadyrov initially denied the claims, but his rhetoric echoed the chilling tone of genocidal leaders. He openly dismissed human rights defenders, claiming, "The gays we supposedly have in the Chechen Republic are foreign, they've sold out their country, people, and religion." The grim reality surfaced when Maxim Lapunov, a whistleblower, detailed his terrifying ordeal. Arrested in 2017, Maxim, a Serbian businessman, had lived openly gay, feeling safe as a foreigner. But his safety was an illusion. He was dragged into a blood-soaked cellar, beaten for 2 weeks, and forced to sign a confession admitting his homosexuality. Lapunov defied his captors and became the first to publicly speak out. However, many ethnic Chechens have remained silent, fearing brutal retaliation against their families. It's estimated over 100 gay men have suffered similar fates, with honor killings reportedly occurring. Atrocities Kadyrov has publicly supported. So what does this have to do with MMA? Ramzan Kadyrov's obsession with MMA isn't just a hobby. It reflects his regime's use of sport for political and propagandistic gain. His involvement goes beyond fandom. Kadyrov founded the Akhmat MMA Fight Club, named after his father, and aggressively promoted the sport within Chechnya. The club has attracted top-tier fighters, lured by money and state-of-the-art facilities. In 2016, Kadyrov televised an MMA event featuring young boys, some as young as 8, engaging in full-contact fights. The exploitation of children for public spectacle enraged many, including MMA legend Fedor Emelianenko, who condemned the event. Shortly after, Fedor's 16-year-old daughter was violently attacked in Moscow, an act many suspect was in retaliation for his criticism. Kadyrov uses MMA not only as a vehicle to assert his power, but also as a way to control fighters. His favorites, like UFC star Khamzat Chimaev, become symbols of his dominance. Chimaev, known for his ruthless fighting style and brash persona, represents the hyper-masculine image Kadyrov wants the world to associate with Chechnya. The two have been seen together frequently, with Khamzat receiving gifts and even sparring with Kadyrov's sons in state propaganda videos. But this relationship comes at a cost. Chimaev, who fled war-torn Chechnya for a better life in Sweden, now finds himself tied to a dictator. Behind his jovial public persona, there's an undeniable tension when asked about Kadyrov's human rights violations. It's a delicate balance. He knows what happens to those who oppose Kadyrov. Other fighters haven't been so lucky. Abdulkarim Edilov, once a UFC fighter and a Kadyrov favorite, was made Deputy Prime Minister of Chechnya. After falling out with Kadyrov, Edilov was found dead weeks later. The message is clear: defying Kadyrov can be fatal. Khamzat Chimaev's association with Kadyrov may also limit his career. Health issues aside, some speculate that Kadyrov's influence may be the reason for Chimaev's recent inactivity, as his ties to the dictator restrict where he can compete. Confined to the UAE, Chimaev's fate seems entwined with Kadyrov's whims. Kadyrov's manipulation of MMA serves as more than just a sport. It's a smokescreen for his regime's brutal human rights violations. His regime uses MMA to project strength while hiding the torture, killings, and persecution that lie beneath. One can only hope the MMA community remains vigilant, refusing to legitimize a regime built on bloodshed.